Good afternoon and welcome to this meeting of Bass Coast Shire Council, Wednesday 19th of February 2025. If I could start by asking people to please turn off all mobile phones, or in the case of an emergency, please advise the chair and switch to silent mode. We'll start with the statement of acknowledgement. Councillor Morgan to read. Thank you.
We acknowledge the Bunurong as the traditional owners and custodians of the lands and waters and pay respect to their elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor statement, we'll go to Councillor Bauer, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All members of this council pledge to the Bass Coast Shire community to consider every item listed on this agenda based on individual merits of each item, without bias or prejudice, by maintaining an open mind and disregarding councillors' personal interests so as to avoid any conflict with our public duty. Any councillor having a conflict of interest in any item will make a proper prior disclosure to the meeting and will not participate in the debate or vote on the issue.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Next on the agenda, present and apologies. We have Councillor Jan Thompson online today, and all other councillors are present. Declarations of interest. Councillor Bauer has declared a conflict of interest in agenda item 6.1, protection of shoreline vegetation and habitat from cows to Vetnor. Item 3, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover, councillors, for the minutes? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Seconder, Councillor Tassari. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. Next on the agenda are the Mayor and Councillor reports, which will be placed in the minutes of the meeting. However, I would like to speak to my report in relation to Vale Neville Goodwin, an Order of Australia medalist. The Bass Coast community has lost a dedicated leader, tireless advocate and true community champion with the passing of Neville Goodwin. Neville's legacy is one of unwavering service, generosity and commitment to the people and places he cared so deeply about. Neville played a pivotal role in shaping the Bass Coast we know today. As a commissioner during the amalgamation of councils and later serving as a councillor for the Shire between 1992 to 1994, that was the Shire of Bass, and the Bass Coast Shire Council between 2003 and 2008, including multiple terms as mayor. Neville was a passionate advocate for his community. He worked at every level to ensure residents were supported, infrastructure was improved and the region continued to thrive. Beyond his work in local government, Neville's contributions to the community were vast. He was a driving force behind many important initiatives, serving as a board member of Bass Coast Health, a dedicated member of the Rotary Club of Wonthaggi, a leader within the Grantville Hall Committee, and a long-standing board member of the National Vietnam Veterans Museum. Through these roles, he helped shape services, championed local projects, and ensured countless community organisations had the support they needed to succeed. At the time, Neville also served as chair of Ken Smith's election campaign while Ken was the member for South Eastern Province. Neville had an extraordinary ability to bring people together and make things happen. He was so well respected across all political parties that if there was a need, he could simply pick up the phone and things would move. That was the power he held through relationships he built and the respect he earned. Just this morning, Ashley Lamers reflected on a moment that encapsulated Neville's influence. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Ashley spoke to Neville about much needed funding for the showgrounds. Without hesitation, Neville called the Minister for Health while the Minister was on a plane and managed to secure the funding needed. That was the kind of respect Neville commanded at every level, from grassroots community needs to the highest offices in the country. His ability to connect with people, advocate for causes, and get things done was simply remarkable. There are so many people who would turn to Neville when they needed help. His impact was immense, and his absence will leave a significant void. It's hard not to ask the question, who do we call now? When we need something done. Neville was truly one of a kind, impressive, hardworking, deeply committed to his community. His success and dedication were also made possible through the incredible support of his wife, Lynn. Together, they were a formidable team. Lynn was often the quiet presence behind the scenes, but her unwavering support played a vital role in everything Neville achieved. Her loss will be profound, and our hearts go out to her. To Lynn, Shelley, Wayne and Daniel, we extend our deepest and most heartfelt condolences during this sad time. Neville's legacy will live on in the many lives he touched, the projects he championed, and the community he helped build. Vale Neville Goodwin, your contributions will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Yeah.
Public question time. We have quite a number of questions for those in the gallery. You might want to get comfortable. Hope you brought a pillow. Question 1, Dean Hurlston. Topic, catering costs. What is the approximate cost per public council meeting for councillors and staff, meals, refreshments and beverages, if applicable?
Through the Mayor, Council spends approximately $200 on catering for councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Box. All right, questions 2. There are 11 that all relate to Silverleaf's coastal erosion. They'll be given one response. Would you like me to read all of these? Okay. Stephen Frey. Why is Silverleaves receiving funding for coastal protection when homeowners knew the risks of shoreline erosion? Other suburbs, like Surf Beach, must pay for basic infrastructure like roads and drainage. Why the disparity? If council funds part of infrastructure, this approach should apply equally across all areas. Question 3, Tristan White. Part 1. Silverleaf's residents in Woodland Avenue, whose properties are under threat of inundation, have not been given advice by council as to what council will do should inundation occur. Why has council not provided this advice to threatened residents? Council to consider following buyback, value of property, rates, asset recovery. Part 2. FSC range identified former BCSC works, including the stone revetment, as contributing to the loss of Silverleaf's shoreline along Woodland Avenue. Does council accept responsibility to protect residents now threatened by these former council works? Council to consider natural climate change versus stone revetment wall works. Residents require transparency. Question 4, Stephen Lappin, Part 1. What is the specific measurement the council will use to determine further deterioration of the Silverleaf shoreline and therefore trigger the necessary emergency works? Part 2. Will the emergency works be performed under the advice of Decker's Marine Engineering Consultants? Question 5, Lindsay Byrne. Is the BCSC able and willing to provide the Silverleafs Conservation Association and interested property owners with detailed topographical information about the Silverleafs area? Question 6, Glenys Byrne, Part 1. Does the council believe that the foreshore and private land east of the rock revetment is at risk of tidal inundation, and does it have a plan to minimise that risk? Part 2. What methods other than aerial photography has the BCSC used to measure the loss of foreshore at Silverleafs? Question 7. Clairwyn Jones. I do hope I got that pronunciation right. Silverleafs Conservation Association, Part 1. The Silverleafs Conservation Association is grateful that the council at its December council meeting committed to immediately undertake necessary emergency works should the shoreline at Silverleaves deteriorate further. Is council aware that the shoreline has deteriorated further with another 0.5 to 1 metre loss along the foreshore since December 2024? Part 2. Given that the Silverleaves shoreline is continuing to deteriorate, at what point will the emergency works be triggered? Question 8. Barbara Hogan. Part 1. Is the council measuring and monitoring the rate of erosion along the Silverleaves foreshore, particularly along the Woodlands area where homes and habitat are under immediate threat? Part 2. What attempts at attracting funding from state and federal governments have been made? Question 9. Louise Hill. What assistance has the Bass Coast Shire Council requested from the Commonwealth or Victorian governments in relation to protection or rehabilitation of the Silverleaves foreshore? Question 10. Daryl Hill. Has the Silverleaves coastal erosion been formally identified as a strategic risk? If so, what is the planned action to address this risk? Question 11. Christine Irvine, Part 1. The shoreline continues to deteriorate due to coastal erosion. When will council undertake emergency works to stabilise this shoreline? Part 2. FSC Range identified former BCSC works, including the stone revetment, as contributing to the loss of Silverleaves shoreline. Does council accept responsibility to protect residents now threatened by these works? Mr Box.
Through the Mayor, a significant portion of Silverleaves has had a land subject to inundation overlay since 2017, which was introduced following significant community consultation and engagement. Officers have continued to meet with concerned residents and respond to inquiries. Council officers continue to work closely with the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action, DECA, to monitor changes in the Silverleaves coastline, including through the Victorian Coastal Monitoring Program. Officers continue to advocate directly with their counterparts within DECA, and since the December meeting of Council, the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and CEO have met with the relevant Minister to emphasise the need for immediate funding of works at Silverleaves. The proposed works at Silverleaves are primarily aimed at preserving the foreshore reserve as public open space. These works are being designed and led by DECA. Council will continue to advocate for a timely, evidence-based response and provide delivery support when the design, permits and approvals are complete and adequate funding made available. Council has consistently called on both the Commonwealth and state government to resource and work with local governments to develop a framework for staged relocation of coastal assets and infrastructure in vulnerable locations. As sea levels continue to rise, our coastal communities need a process that is equitable, inclusive, fair, straightforward and efficient. DECA was recently successful in securing $1.52 million in disaster-ready funding from the Commonwealth to develop a policy for property and assets impacted by coastal hazards and sea level rise. Council continues to advocate for a statewide coastal inundation and erosion control in the form of an overlay similar to the bushfire management overlay.
Thank you, Mr Box. Question 12 is from Kim White. Topic: coastal erosion advocacy. With the recent change in councillors and the new council's commitment to supporting communities in protecting towns rather than retreating, will the coastal erosion retreat policy outlined on page 17 of the advocacy document be formally reviewed or amended? If so, what is the process and timeline?
Through the Mayor, Council's advocacy priorities will be reviewed as part of the development of the 4-year Council plan.
Question 13, Craig Rogers. Topic: 151 Marine Parade, San Remo. The traffic report relies on public transport and bikes to visit the new offices, yet the current tenant parks on site. Assuming users will only bike or take buses is unrealistic and shouldn't justify eliminating on-site parking. The development should be scaled to the land size, not depend on existing infrastructure.
Through the Mayor, the availability of public transport services and provision of bicycle parking are only one element that contribute to planning decisions relating to car parking. Limited site constraints restrict the ability to cater for on-site car parking. A planning permit for the proposal was issued whilst considering the broader policy direction for Marine Parade.
Question 14, Linda Marston. Topic, Burnanite Art Exhibit. As part of the Kids of Catalysts program, some New Haven primary students created posters promoting awareness of wildlife on Phillip Island. They were unable to exhibit these at Burnanite for free. As BCSC is partnered with this program, shouldn't Council promote such projects as examples of young leadership?
Through the Mayor, Council does provide support and access for Kids as Catalyst program. However, not every request is able to be accommodated. The group was advised that the best option was to hire a community space in the building. Staff also spent some time with the group advising how best to promote their work and provided key contacts within media.
Question 15, Linda Marsden. Topic, speed review. Stage 2 of the speed review has been promised for several years. Please provide the schedule to progress it.
Through the Mayor, Stage 2 of the Phillip Island Speed Review involves removing all of the default 100km speed limits from unsealed roads. Council has scoped the project and is continuing to seek funding for its implementation.
Question 16, Prudence Schultz. Topic, Powlett Ridge Wonthaggi. How much money was the Powlett Ridge Wonthaggi developer required to contribute for open space park for the estate? And how much has been spent so far to deliver the 0.85 hectare local park adjacent to the Western Construction Waterway as stated in the VPA table Open Space Delivery Guide?
Through the Mayor, no financial contribution was required as the provision of the land was deemed to satisfy the relevant planning requirements.
Question 17, Kevin Griffin. Topic, Key Performance Indicators. In November 2024, the CEO advised that the CEO Key Performance Indicators would be made available on Council's website once they were endorsed by the new Council. Please advise where the CEO Key Performance Indicators can now be found on Council's website.
Through the Mayor, a link to the relevant section of the website will be included in the minutes.
Question 18, Kevin Griffin. Topic, SECCCA, more fondly known as SECCA. Council Watch advises that South East Council's Climate Change Alliance organises forums and publishes reports but has limited tangible outcomes, and that climate adaptation funding remains largely unchanged despite SECCA's lobbying. Please advise if SECCA has provided any tangible outcomes for the ratepayers of Bass Coast Shire.
Through the Mayor, as a council-owned and operated organisation, SECCA is dedicated to supporting an efficient, scaled response to emissions reduction and climate adaptation. For example, the Asset Vulnerability Assessment tool developed by SECCA has been applied to Council's asset management plans to deliver insights that would not have been available within Council's resources acting alone. In 2024, SECCA secured $4.2 million from the Disaster Ready Fund to continue reducing risk and building resilience across Melbourne's southeast councils under the Financing Flood Resilient Infrastructure project. A full list of SECCA initiatives is included in the strategic plan located on the SECCA website.
Question 19, Lindsay Byrne. Topic, Foreshore Works. How is the need for foreshore works determined by the BCSC, DECA, and the other stakeholders responsible for the management of Crown land, and how is the implementation of those works prioritised?
Through the Mayor, Council is one of 8 land managers appointed by DECA to manage foreshores throughout the Shire. Management of Crown land foreshores is ultimately governed by state legislation and policy, including the Marine and Coastal Act 2018 and Marine and Coastal Policy 2020.
Question 20, Eve Kelly. Topic, Dog Regulations. Part 1. The Phillip Island Dog Association appears to have influence at Council in terms of off-leash dog regulations and how they might change in the future. For balance, was there an ecological survey done of the San Remo foreshore before it was open to dogs 24 hours a day? Question 2. Dogs are allowed off-leash on the San Remo foreshore 24 hours except during holidays. The dunes provide habitat for wildlife, including wombats and their joeys. Before improved signage is arranged, will the council consider reassessing the hours to give the wombats a break, particularly between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m?
Through the Mayor. Question 1. Council regularly reviews all off-leash regulations and works with community and subject matter expert stakeholders to ensure that they continue to meet community needs. In 2025, Council is developing a new domestic animal management plan, which will provide the opportunity to review guidelines and a program to support the best outcomes relating to domestic animals across the Shire. Consideration of the hours at San Remo and other beaches will be included in this process. Question 2. Council develops off-leash dog regulations in consultation with subject matter experts, land managers and community groups for a balanced approach. Council has considered ecological impacts in the establishment of all off-leash regulations and will continue to do so in reviewing and establishing these regulations going forward.
Question 21, Anne Gross. Topic, Carnival site. Email sent to Team Leader Community Safety January 23rd asking if BCSC applied for funding through DECA for round of new upgraded dog parks, in brackets 13.4 million. Reply received 30th, the Carnival site failed the application criteria due to design and infrastructure constraints. Please detail what the design and infrastructure constraints were.
Through the Mayor, Council conducted site assessments in relation to the new and upgraded dog park funding criteria through DECA, including the Phillip Island site. At the time of the funding, Phillip Island Recreation Reserve did not meet the criteria. The site required further design and delivery of critical connecting civil infrastructure such as roads, site drainage, car parking, etc., prior to being able to apply for funding. Council continues further design work to position the site for future funding opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. I know, I was just about to say we're halfway through. Question 22, Ross Bencraft. Topic, parking spaces. BCSC waived more than 900 parking spaces for the Isle of Wight redevelopment. Research indicates parking to accommodate 900 cars requires approximately 2 hectares of space. Where is Council proposing these 900 cars will be alternatively accommodated?
Through the Mayor, the Isle of Wight redevelopment was ultimately approved by the Minister for Planning as part of Amendment C164 BASC to the Bass Coast Planning Scheme on the 14th of March 2024. The scale of parking proposed is one element which contributes to planning decisions, and the decision to issue a planning permit for the proposal made by the Minister considered the broader policy direction for the subject site and the contribution to employment and local economy. The submission of a green travel plan is a condition of the permit.
Question 23, Ross Bencraft. Topic, commercial developments. Could BCSC please provide the exact number of commercial developments Council has approved specifically with parking space waivers on Phillip Island and in San Remo in the period spanning 1st of the 1st, 2021 to the 31st of the 12th, 2024, and the exact total of waived parking spaces for all of these approved developments in this period?
Through the Mayor, there have been 22 planning permit applications determined in the requested period across Phillip Island and San Remo, which have resulted in a total of approximately 1,209 car parking spaces waived. This includes 900 for the Isle of Wight redevelopment. The ability to apply for parking reductions is a feature across the Victorian planning system. Whilst the planning scheme provides a guide on car parking, a case-by-case assessment based on each individual site, its location and physical constraints is used to determine whether a reduction is appropriate.
Question 24, Peter Fogarty. Topic, community safety. Question 1. Do councillors support the enforcement of the Bass Coast Council bylaws pertaining to the significant issue of persons not complying with offences relating to the ownership of domestic animals? Question 2. Do councillors support additional funding for greater staffing and resources for the community safety team in order that community safety officers can effectively relevant bylaws?
Through the Mayor. Question 1. Council enforces all relevant regulations throughout the Shire, including Bass Coast Shire local law. Enforcement of domestic animal regulations remains a key priority for Council. Question 2. Council regularly reviews staffing levels to ensure that adequate resources are dedicated to enforcement of the local law. Through the 2025-26 budget process, Council will review resource allocations again to ensure that Council continues to meet community enforcement needs.
Question 25, Louise Lyle. Topic, special charge schemes. At November 2024, Council question 5.6. The CEO stated information regarding a number of special charge schemes would be added on the Engage Bass Coast website over the following 2 months. It is now 3 months. Why is this information not available as was stated by the CEO?
Through the Mayor. Due to resourcing, there has been a delay in processing the information. Details will be published in March 2025.
Question 26, Louise Lyle. Topic, purchased land. In response to question 5.15 at the December Council meeting 2024, CEO Box stated Council has purchased 14 parcels of land but failed to adequately identify each and every parcel of land as per the original question. Will Council please state individual addresses, including individual reasons for each purchase?
Through the Mayor. The details of each parcel of land acquired was included in the minutes of the December 2024 Council meeting. All properties were acquired through the construction of new estates and the land will be used for drainage and open space purposes.
Question 27, Susie Wicks. Topic, stormwater infiltration. At the August 2024 Council meeting with the CEO stated that stormwater infiltration into the sewer is not Council's problem. Western Port Water stated their system is designed to manage flows with emergency relief structures protecting the environment. Why in the 2024 URDI priority scoring is there a 15-point environmental penalty for surf beach properties?
Through the Mayor. 15 points reflects a high score for environmental risk as the area has a history of overflows into Western Port.
Question 28, Philip Davey. Topic, wetland treatment. Wetlands consist of water-loving plants, soils and pools of water that filter pollutants and treat stormwater through natural ecological processes before slowly releasing downstream. Why in the 2024 URDI priority scoring, in brackets environmental, does Council rate direct stormwater pipe discharge to oceans and bays more beneficial than wetland treatment?
Through the Mayor, the benefits of the treatments are not rated. The scores are based on environmental risk and prioritising which outfalls should be considered for an upgrade first.
Question 29, John Cantone. Topic, sports facilities. Part 1. How can the Council justify 30 years of neglecting essential sports facilities, leaving generations without access to proper ovals, pools and recreation spaces, while millions in funding have been spent elsewhere? What immediate steps will you take to prioritise the development of high-quality sporting infrastructure for Phillip Island and the wider community? Part 2. With $1.8 billion spent over 30 years, yet infrastructure remains the same, what concrete steps will you, as Mayor and CEO of Bass Coast Shire, take to finally deliver on 30-year-old requests for football fields, swimming pool, pump tracks, cricket fields and basketball stadiums?
Through the Mayor. Question 1. Approximately $4 million has been invested in sporting infrastructure on Phillip Island since 2018. Upgrades to sporting infrastructure with major contributions from Council, State Government and local sporting clubs include oval refurbishment at Cowes Recreation Reserve, new oval floodlighting at Cowes Recreation Reserve, new netball pavilion at Cowes Recreation Reserve, new netball courts and floodlighting at Cowes Recreation Reserve, football pavilion refurbishment at Cowes Recreation Reserve, refurbishment of skate park at Cowes Recreation Reserve, new croquet pavilion, refurbishment of soccer pavilion at New Haven Recreation Reserve, new floodlighting for New Haven Recreation Reserve. Council adopted the Phillip Island Recreation Reserve Master Plan in September 2023. Advocacy for funding will continue to implement the master plan and its associated sporting infrastructure. In relation to question 2, Council will continue to advocate at both a state and federal level for funding to deliver new sporting infrastructure across the Shire.
Question 30, Bill Wilson. Performance and financial report. Page 11. Performance and financial report ending 31st of the 12th, 2024 reports an error. A 50% completion to progress the review towards a new council plan. The community panel of 45 people is to attend the first meeting on the 19th of March 2025 to start the review process with a consultant. Please explain the 50% completion.
Through the Mayor, as a part of this project, broader community engagement was undertaken between July and August 2024 and the report made available on Council's website. Planning for the recruitment of the panel was completed in Q2. The community panel will be convened between March and May 2025. The percentage marked complete on this action in the Q2 report reflects the work undertaken to date in this project and includes the preparation for the community panel and other stages of the project.
Question 31, Melissa Dagg. Topic, waste contract. Council's 10-year waste contract expires in 2026. The contract includes a $1.2 million cost to the waste charge to ratepayers for council buildings and foreshore collection, etc. After the recent councillor briefing meeting, what councillors have read the confidential full waste contract at the council office?
Through the Mayor, briefings on Council's waste management services, including contracted elements, will continue throughout the induction process and preparation of the 2025-26 budget. Councillors are not expected or required to read in full every contract entered by the organisation, but rather to inform the strategic direction, resourcing and priority outcomes for the community.
Question 32, Melissa Dagg. Topic, Mayor expenses. The Mayor of the Bass Coast Shire Council is entitled to an electric vehicle for mayoral duty use. Would Council please provide details as to the travel expense of $2,459.18 claimed by the Mayor, reported by Council?
Through the Mayor, the travel expense reported for the Mayor in the Councillor Expenses Report to the 31st of December 2024 is the internal recharge for the mayoral vehicle. No other travel expenses were claimed by the Mayor. The internal recharge is based on whole-of-life running costs for the vehicle. These include registration, insurance, servicing tyres, repairs, maintenance and depreciation.
Oh, I need that car, Mr. Box.
It's all good.
Can't get to all my appointments without it. Question 33, John Kuzma. Topic, confidentiality policy. Would Council please provide its confidentiality policy?
Through the Mayor, Council does not have a confidentiality policy. The Local Government Act and Privacy and Data Protection Act stipulate confidentiality requirements that Council must adhere to. Council also has a privacy policy which is available on our website.
Question 34, Joe Warrello. Topic, turning lane along Vetnor Road. In 2012, Council identified a safety requirement consisting of a turning lane along Vetnor Road for the entry of Hilton Chadwick Reserve and the Carnival Landing Cows. What progress of permits and a detailed plan has Council achieved?
Through the Mayor, the new entry and turning lane designs are currently being finalised. Once finalised, Council will work with the Department of Transport and Planning to obtain permits required for delivery.
Question 35, Gina Rosamalia. Topic, Gertie's Reserve. A local newspaper reported Council was receiving $1.1 million income from the sale of offset credits to permit holders for the Gertie's Reserve in perpetuity forever. Where does the $1.1 million show in the annual reports?
Through the Mayor, the scheme commenced in 2014 and has collected funds in relation to the sale of the credits. Credits create an obligation for Council to deliver works in accordance with set conditions. As the obligations are settled, the income is recognised as monetary contributions in Council's income statement per the annual report.
Question 36, Graham Jolly. Topic, Councillor briefings. Briefing meetings are held to inform councillors of matters of importance to council. What briefing list topics has councillors workshopped to assist in decision making after the councillor election in 2024?
Through the Mayor, all councillor briefings are listed in the informal meeting of councillors attachments attached to item 9.1 of the agenda.
Question 37, Graham Jolly. Topic, statutory matters. Council has appointed Mosaic Lab, a consultant, to review statutory matters as defined in the Local Government Act 2020. Would Council please provide the full scope of work subjects and instructions that were provided to the appointed consultant heading the community panel for meetings starting on the 19th of March 2025?
Through the Mayor, Council appointed Mosaic Lab to work with Council to deliver the deliberative engagement to support the refresh of Council's vision and development of the Council Plan 2025-29, Financial Plan and Asset Plan as required under the Local Government Act 2020. Mosaic Lab were engaged to develop an engagement plan, support community engagement, manage the recruitment of the community panel, manage communication with panel members, plan and deliver the 4 community panel sessions, provide a report from community panel, and provide strategic advice for the project.
Question 38, Fred Morris. Topic, council meeting. The council image at meetings requires attention. For good governance, when will the Mayor insist the senior governance manager sit directly next to the Mayor with the CEO seated on the other side and all other council officers seated away from the Mayor's public meeting table?
Through the Mayor, thank you for your feedback. The setback of the council meeting is organised in consultation with the Mayor and is continually reviewed.
Mr Box, I don't have any problems with the way that the council chamber is seated at the moment, so I'd just like to say that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Question 39, Mario Boffa. Topic, annual report. The 2023-24 annual report, page 57, advises a Service of Finance with a budget figure of 7,464. Please explain why a negative $7.464 million can be reported as a budget funding allocation.
Through the Mayor, the budgeted net result for the finance function is a negative cost of $7.464 million due to it including revenue from the Victorian Grants Commission and interest received on Council's investment portfolio.
Question 40, 2 to go. Gina Rosa Malia. Topic, Public Art Plan. The 2023-24 annual report, page 45, reports develop a public art plan to provide a clear outline of the council's approach to public art in the municipality is 35% complete. What is the current status as it is not reported as of the 31st of December 2024?
Through the Mayor, in January a consultant was engaged to develop the new 10-year strategic plan by the end of the 2024-25 financial year. The strategy will be developed in consultation with an internal project steering group, Arts Advisory Committee and the local community.
Question 41, Ernie Westergaard. Topic, costs to state government. Council collects funds from ratepayers for the fire levy on behalf of the state government. Please list details of other costs to state government departments Council pays.
Through the Mayor, Council has commenced the collection of the 7.5% short stay levy for accommodation bookings made through our visitor information centres with effect from January 2025. Council is also liable for land tax where applicable on properties that it owns.
Great question. And that is question time for today. Oh, I thought we had 41. Oh,
Come on,
there's
Madam
one
Mayor.
more to go. Okay, Terry Parkin. Topic, capital works projects. In 2023, Council allocated in its capital works projects for year 23-24 fundings for capital advancements. The rates funding allocation was $4.410 million. What has happened to the $4.410 million of rates when the fourth quarterly report ending 30th of June 2024 reports no expenditure.
Through the Mayor, the capital advancement allocation was established to enable council to manage the volatile market for capital works. In 2023-24, the 4.41 million was expended on multiple projects in line with the purpose of the Capital Advancement Fund. Thank you, Madam.
And that is the last question. Thank you everyone for your questions. Really good ones in there too. We now move to notices of motion. 6.1, protection of shoreline vegetation and habitat from cows to
Mayor, Madam Mayor, I'll leave the room now.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Bauer.
See you, Ronnie.
Conflict of interest. Could I ask Councillor O'Brien to introduce the notice of motion without speaking to it, please?
Madam Mayor, yes, look, I wish to propose an amendment to that notice of motion. I think, Chelsea, we can provide that amendment. Yeah. So there's only a very minor change to the last point.
And councillors are all aware of the amendment and can see the amendment to the amendment.
I can't see, what was the amendment to the amendment, if I can see clarification, Councillor O'Brien?
Okay, so the last point in the original motion has just been reworded slightly.
It originally did not have the word coastal. Would that be correct, Councillor O'Brien?
Yeah, correct, and that, so it now reads, remove the proposed coastal Cows Ventnor Trail from the Tracks and Trails Strategy and Implementation Plan.
Okay,
Whereas previously read, you can see there.
yeah, thank you.
So can I have a seconder to the amendment of the amendment? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. So that's moved Councillor O'Brien, seconded Councillor Edwards. All those in favour? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You get to speak to the motion now, Councillor O'Brien. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Yes, so what we're proposing here is that there's a Tracks and Trails proposal to run a trail from essentially from Cows through to Ventnor along the foreshore. This motion here proposes that gets removed from Tracks and Trails. The issue being, of course, that Tracks and Trails, there's pretty clear research, provides a linear corridor of disturbance, along the length. Much of that shoreline is under threat, much of it is degraded, and so the proposition here is that it's really not an appropriate environment to be putting a track and a trail through. The other outcomes from when there is a near shore development and building is that it actually opens up parts of the coastline to informal access, and anyone who's walked along from Cows to Ventnor, there are paths down to the beach, everywhere there, and the better allocation of council effort and funding and activity will be in rehabilitating all of that shoreline. Parts of the shoreline, of course, are claimed by landowners, and if there's been quite a bit of clearing and removal of indigenous vegetation, and council's role would be better spent in ensuring that shoreline is recognised for what it is. It's fragile, it's under threat, and it really should be protected. The second part of this motion really is just that we do have Tracks and Trails, of course, provide a low impact way for visitors and the community to get around. But there is already some pretty good paths leading back to Cows, which need to be linked up, of course. And in fact, my view about Tracks and Trails generally, and about this policy of separating people on bikes and from vehicular traffic, is that the effort would also be better put into making sure our roads are safe and that our roads are designed to accommodate a variety of
20
transport
seconds,
solutions.
Councillor O'Brien.
I commend the motion.
Yeah.
Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Edwards, did you wish to speak to the motion? Can I just ask councillors, when you're speaking, to speak to the councillors? I understand there's a large gallery here today, but this is a council meeting for councillors to have these discussions, so direct it to the councillors.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have nothing further to add, but if I may provide my time allocation to Councillor O'Brien if he has anything further to add. Is that allowable?
Oh, Councillor Edwards.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Look, I do think that the motion speaks for itself, and it's not, you know, we're not attempting, you know, to remove this tracks and trails policy, but the threshold consideration is the environment in which they're being put. That's and the fragility of that.
Sorry,
That's
Councillor
what we
O'Brien, can I
need.
see clarification? Is that a thing? No, I didn't think so.
Can I just step in there, Councillor O'Brien, because you will get the opportunity to sum up. But firstly, I'd like to ask if any other councillors wish to speak to the motion. No? Would you like to sum up now, Councillor O'Brien? Now that I think you've already
Well,
get another little bite of the cherry.
Well, you say, look, I do commend it, and I do think that this is a movable. This is something that needs to be reviewed, ongoing, you know, by council, and in particular, you know, with the funding that we're putting to these things. There are various parts along that foreshore reserve that we describe, where the foreshore is really under threat. And if we've got money, if we're thinking about spending money on a track and a trail, we should be spending money on making sure that those foreshores are around the yacht club, for instance, you know, and I know it's not all council responsibility, but we should be directing funding to where it's actually needed.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. I'm going to put that to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? That's carried. We could ask Councillor Bauer to return to the chamber now.
Or we could leave him out there.
We can leave him out there. Thank you, Councillor Bauer.
Can I ask a question, Madam Mayor? Was the motion carried?
Right, out,
Thrown out.
Yeah, no,
Really?
it was carried, Councillor Bauer. Item 7 on the agenda, petitions, joint letters, deputations and correspondence. 7.1, urban road and drainage. We do have petitions, don't we? I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. 7.1, urban road and drainage infrastructure improvement project on Anglers Road, Sunderland Bay. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Anyone to move? Petition for Sunderland Bay.
I better move it or it'll get lapsed.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Do we have a seconder?
No.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Bauer, would you like to speak to the petition?
I think it's one that, from what I'm reading here, that will be addressed in due course by the officers with a report. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. As seconder, Councillor O'Brien, did you have anything to add? All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. I was a bit worried then. 7.2, short stay rental accommodation petition. Do I have a mover and a seconder? A mover, thank you, Councillor Temby. Seconder. Oh, Councillor Thompson's got a hand up. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. As mover, would you like to speak, Councillor Temby?
Yes, I think all of us have got a right to have our local amenity suitable for quiet, relaxing, safe environments, and that this petition is detailing an instance where there have been serious breaches, antisocial behaviour, noise, etc. And I think that that's unacceptable, and we need to have a mechanism to make sure that that is stopped and it doesn't occur in other places where this sort of short stay accommodation occurs.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Thompson, did you have anything to add? I'm sorry, councillor Thompson, I think you might be on mute.
Haven't heard that for a while.
Any other councillors wish to speak to this petition? Councillor Temby, would you like to put it to the vote?
Put it to the vote, thanks.
All those in favour, councillors? That's unanimous and carried, thank you. Item 8. Reports requiring council decision 8.1, Quarterly Performance Report, Quarter 2, October to December 2024. Ms Taylor, to introduce the report, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present Council with the Quarterly Performance Report for consideration. The report provides an overview of our progress on annual actions and how we're tracking against budget. It is recommended that the report be received. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do I have a mover? Councillor Morgan, seconder. Councillor Bell. As mover, would you like to speak to the report?
Thanks. I'd just like to thank council officers for their work.
Great, thanks Councillor Morgan. Councillor Bell?
Nothing more to add.
No summing up for Councillor Morgan, so we'll put...
Fine, thanks, Mayor.
Anyone else wish to speak before I, was going to put that to the vote?
I'd just like to mention, thank you for the report, and it's obviously not open for debate at the moment, but just that we're mindful that there's some projects tracking perhaps beyond their foreseen budget and that they'll be looked at going forward. So there's some concern, I guess, in the community of that.
Thanks, Councillor Edwards. Nothing further, councillors? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous and carried. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. 8.2, planning application 220321 Stanley Road and McGrady Road reserves. Mr Prendergast to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council an application for the removal of native vegetation within the road reserve to facilitate widening of a road and the construction of pedestrian footpaths at Stanley and McGrady's Road in Grantville, Glen Forbes. The application was advertised and 54 objections have been received. However, since publication, a further 4 objections have been received. The concerns of the objectors have been considered and officers have worked with the developer to try and minimise the vegetation loss. It is recommended that a notice of decision to issue a planning permit be issued.
Thank you, Mr Prendergast. Councillor Temby?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to propose an alternative.
Okay, can we have that alternative on the screen, please? And Councillor Temby, could you introduce the alternative without speaking to it?
I seek to put an alternative to refuse the application on the basis of the damage it will cause to the wildlife corridors and biodiversity of our remnant bushland.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Do I have a councillor to second the alternative? Councillor O'Brien. Okay, so Councillor Temby, you can now speak to your alternative.
The alternative motion you see on the screen seeks to refuse the planning application 220321 Stanley Road and McGrady Road reserves. Less than 15% of remnant vegetation remains in Bass Coast Shire. The Western Port woodlands contain highly significant biodiversity values and is a rare coastal woodland ecosystem. They're described in the DAL as being of national significance and are irreplaceable. A brief survey by the Gippsland Threatened Species Action Group identified the Strzelecki gum in the immediate vicinity and believed to be present on the road reserve. It's listed as vulnerable under the EPBC Act and critically endangered under the FFG Act. Specimens of these trees have been sent to a Victorian eucalypt specialist and the results will be available shortly. The copper greenwood, also endangered under the FFG Act, is growing along the edge of Stanley Road. The clearing of native vegetation is incompatible with Bass Coast Shire's legal obligations. Given the conservation status of the Strzelecki gum, copper greenwood and also the green striped greenwood found on the road reserve or nearby, there's enough evidence to require an environmental effects statement prior to any clearing occurring. Both Stanley and McGrady roads are listed in Bass Coast's Significant Roadside Vegetation Management Plan 2020. These two roadsides have a high conservation value and are a crucial biolink in the Western Port Woodlands, the last functional forest in Bass Coast. The 37 trees listed for removal is based on a formula where only the very biggest trees are counted. Many thousands of important habitat plants are actually earmarked for removal. The proposal is inconsistent with state and local planning policy that seeks to protect and enhance Victoria's biodiversity. DECA commented the removal of native vegetation and threatened species habitat within the roadside is likely to further contribute to fragmentation, edge effects and degradation of these locally high quality remnant areas of native vegetation and habitat. Major land 58 objections to the vegetation and clearing proposal were made. We must recognise and respect their views. Comments and objections from Western Port Biosphere, VNPA, Gippsland Threatened Species Action Group, South Gippsland Conservation Society and others, as well as large numbers of local and regional residents, all say they don't want the vegetation removal to occur. We need to take the current rapid loss of biodiversity seriously and refuse the proposed removal of the high quality vegetation irrespective of whether the endangered and critically endangered species are there or not. Our enlightened community will support that refusal. I move that this alternative motion as detailed on the screen to refuse the clearing of vegetation on Stanley and McGrady roads be passed by council.
Well done, Councillor Tenby. You got right in the 3 minutes because you were a bit worried you weren't going to make it, so well done. Councillor O'Brien, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, I don't think that this proposal has merit. I don't believe that there is only one solution here, and that's to punch a double lane through with the removal of native vegetation. And I think that the community there in Adams Estate deserve better, deserve to be listened to, and deserve to have their views, because they've been living there for 25 years and more undisturbed. And it's our job as council, to represent those communities, to hear those communities and act in their interests. And I don't think we can, as councillors, that we can try to second guess what VCAT is going to do and use that as a way of creating policy. VCAT does what it does. Sometimes falls one way, sometimes falls the other. But it's our job as a community, as the leaders in this community, being elected to do a job, to show a bit of spine, and to hit this one out of the park, because it's just not acceptable, the plans that we've been given with the removal of those native trees. It's not acceptable to that community. It's a highly contentious issue right across Granville. And let's just remind ourselves, no one gets a royalty for the sand that gets carried out of Granville. No one, it just disappears. So that community, really gets very little compensation for the amount of disturbance from trucks, from dust, and I don't see any Hanson childcare centre popping up. Look, I just think that it's time. They've had a very good run, the sand miners, in the Western Port Woodlands more generally, and certainly Hanson there. And we need to get this sorted out, get it back to the table, and come up with a plan that does not involve the removal of trees. And I won't be told that there is only one solution to this, because there isn't.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Are there any other councillors that have any questions or wish to speak? Councillor Thompson? Thank you, councillor Thompson. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, this really shouldn't be a contentious decision. How much more environmental vandalism will be greenlit for huge corporations before decision makers like us realise that we're in a climate and biodiversity crisis? Oh no, we can't inconvenience the sand miners, not the corporate profits. Well, you know who can't submit applications to council? The 2,000 odd threatened and endangered species of animals that we're supposed to be sharing this state with. You know who can't put in applications to council? The kids. The next generation of Gippslanders who have just as much right to enjoy our precious native vegetation as those who have come before us. Speaking of those who have come before, there is no First Nations consent for this. There is no justifiable reason for greenlighting this application, and I would note that it is in direct contradiction to the council's obligations under the Local Government Act mandating mitigation and planning for climate change risks. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Morgan. Councillor Tassari.
Couldn't you have put me before him? I've got to follow.
Good luck.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm mindful of the gallery we've got here, and I've been in this situation quite a few times over my 3 terms that I've been here, where it's a very heavily seated gallery. This time I'm actually supporting you, so it's a rare occasion. I'm not going to be as theatrical as what Councillor Morgan was, but I must say I was very much on the fence, and because I agree with what Councillor Thompson has said. I've got to be mindful too that we're voting on a road and removal of vegetation, not on who has sand mines and who doesn't have sand mines. So we've got to be really, really careful of that. I would like, I'd seek clarification from Mr. Pendergast if I can. If this amendment was adopted, do we have the right to try and negotiate with any said sand mines to come up with a better alternative than what we are currently facing as far as reducing the reduction of vegetation?
Through you, Mayor. In short, yes. If the applicant took this to VCAT, it would give council the opportunity to work with the applicant to come up with a better solution.
And that is my, thank you, Mr. Pendergast, without notice. That is my preferred solution because I see both sides. The sand mining will continue.
Directing to the council.
The sand mining, well, actually, I'm not looking at anyone. I'm thinking as I'm. The sand mining will continue to use the road whether it's sealed or not sealed. So to get a better outcome for the residents, and it's interesting to point out that there was only 10 objections from the residents that are there. They will continue to use that road whether it's sealed or whether it's not sealed. We pay for it, they pay for it. My preference is for them to pay for it. My preference is to work with them to come up with a better solution to reduce the vegetation. So I will be voting for this amendment, but I'm very, very much, I can understand where Councillor Thompson's coming from. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Tassari. I just want to confirm alternative.
Oh, sorry, alternative. Yeah.
That's okay.
I've only been doing this for 9 years and I'm still not getting it right.
Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and red pants watching this meeting. The community has spoken, 58 objections. We are the representative of the community, not business. I feel we have to listen to their concerns. With the vegetation removal, once it's gone, it's gone. I will support the alternate motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. We go back to the mover. Councillor Temby, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I appreciate all the comments that have been made, positive and negative. But I think times have changed and that enlightened thinking recognises the value of biodiversity, especially in times of climate change. And we need to take all steps available to protect the last vestiges of the Western Port woodlands, and I commend the alternative to the council.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. All those in favour of the alternative? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. 8 8.3, planning amendment application 2025 to 2043, Thompson Avenue, Cows. Mr.
Do you
Prendergast.
want to pause for a minute? Yeah.
Sorry, we'll allow for the gallery to clear if they wish to.
You're not interested in the rest of the meeting? What if I rescind that motion and you just leave? Yeah. What are you going to do then? Even you're going, Michael. Right.
42 questions. It's true, this starts.
Okay, coming back to order, thanks councillors. We go to 8.3, planning amendment application 2025 to 243 Thompson Avenue, Cows. Mr. Prendergast to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council an application for an amendment to an existing planning permit for building and works to expand an existing development, expansion of an existing licensed area, increased patron numbers, a reduction of car parking requirement in the general residential zone at 225 to 243 Thompson Avenue. This application is before Council as the cost of development is estimated to be 5.9 million. It is recommended that a notice of decision be issued, issue a planning permit to be issued.
Thank you, Mr. Prendergast. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bauer, a seconder? Councillor Bell. As mover, Councillor Bauer, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. The subject of car waivers has been a hot topic for a long time in Phillip Island. However, here we have an unusual case. The applicant has not asked for or even wanted a car waiver. The RSL has informed me and the other ward councillors that their existing car park arrangements would fulfil the necessary parking requirements this development required. It is the statutory requirements of Bass Coast Shire that is imposing the 30-car waivers. The word waiver is now associated with the notion of more cars on the island. That is not the case here. These are not waivers, they are more appropriately called exemptions. It is rare that a development does not ask for additional parking. The extension being proposed by the RSL is a benefit to the community. The RSL Committee of Management's consideration in relation to the parking situation and the development in total should be commended. I commend the report to the Chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Bell, did you wish to speak to the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Bell. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Tenby?
Madam Mayor, I'm supportive in general of exactly what Councillor Bauer has said. However, the whole notion of waivers really worries me, and I'd like to see a whole of Shire approach to waivers and incentives provided so that no development can go ahead without making provision for adequate parking.
Thank you, Councillor Tenby. Councillor Bauer, do you wish to sum up?
I have nothing further to add, please.
Put to the vote. All those in favour? All those opposed? Thank you, that's carried. Item 8.4, planning application 13 Worley Avenue, 44 to 46 and 48 Thompson Avenue, Cows. Mr. Prendergast to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council an application for the use and development of a residential hotel in a commercial 1 zone and a Schedule 11 to the design and development overlay. A reduction in car parking associated with the restricted retail premises and the provision of car parking associated with the residential hotel on another site at 13 Worley Avenue and 44 to 46 Thompson Avenue, Cows. This application was advertised and received 23 objections. The concerns of the objectors have been considered. It is recommended that a notice of decision to issue a planning permit be issued.
Madam Mayor,
Thank
I
you.
wish to move an alternate.
Yes, your alternate.
If we've got on the
Councillor
screen.
Bauer, could you introduce it without speaking to it?
The alternate addresses the car parking waivers.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Do I have a seconder to the alternate? Councillor Tassari? Back to Councillor Bauer.
Thank you.
I'm always confused as to whether I need to vote to accept the alternate,
No.
but I don't. So
No.
Councillor Bauer, you can introduce it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. Unlike the previous agenda item 8.3, this application does require an additional 6 car parks to fulfil its obligations under the planning scheme. The developers have tried to do this by stealth, by taking away spots 7, 8 and 9 in the car park behind the development. I do not accept this as a suitable compromise for the development. It again puts the squeeze on our community for the precious few car spots we have in the Thompson Avenue area. Even the officer's report acknowledges the line ball nature of the waiver. On page 95, and I quote, the 6 car parking spaces are allocated with 1.2 metres of the windows of units 1, 2 and 4 and therefore mildly non-compliant with the standard. Even if the waivers are contained on private land, the building of the residential hotel increases the traffic burden in Cowes. For every car waiver, there has to be a positive to the community. Going back to Councillor Temby's words before, be it monetary offset or some other be it a monetary offset or some other quid pro quo. That is the discussion that needs to be held. Otherwise, the Cowes community simply cannot and will not cope. I commend the alternate to the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Tassari?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bauer. This was a tricky one for me because originally I'm very much pro-development, unashamedly have been for the 9 years I'm here, but it has to be done in the right context of what they're developing and in the area that they are developing. It would be hypocritical of me to not support this alternative when I fight for saving as much parking as we possibly can in the main street of Wabagi. But here I am happy to see more waivers continue over on the island. So this is something that the developers do need to re-examine when they put this forward. I agree with Councillor Temby earlier on in a previous point where it's a Shire-wide issue and it's something that we need to address. So I will be supporting this alternative put forward.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. Does any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor O'Brien?
If I may, Madam Mayor, yeah, it is an entirely different proposition to the RSL that we've just voted on. That bottom end of Cowes is becoming increasingly difficult to navigate because of the pressure of cars, and I think that the time has come, to put a stake in the ground on these car parking waivers, and it's time to put a stop to them. In particular down on that the northern shore of Cowes. This is just around the corner, and it's time that this policy was reviewed, and it's time that we put a stop to these waivers, and it's time, as John mentioned, that we have solutions in place to ensure that if the developer's not providing the car parking on site, they're providing the car parking somewhere. They're providing it somewhere. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Any other councillor wish to speak? I'll go back to Councillor Bauer to sum
I've
up.
nothing further to add. I put it to the vote, please.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. 8.5, sale of discontinued road parcel 29 Park Road, San Remo. Ms Taylor to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to formalise the sale of part of a road reserve that has previously been discontinued. It is recommended that a 1.5 metre strip of land located adjacent to 29 Park Road in San Remo be sold to the adjoining landowner. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Councillor Tassari's moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Morgan, thank you. Councillor Tassari, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is purely procedural.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan,
Further to add, Mayor?
any other councillor have any questions or wish to speak? All right, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. 8.6, review of instrument of delegation council to staff and instrument of sub-delegation Environment Protection Act 2017 council to staff. Ms Taylor to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council an update of our instrument of sub-delegation for the Environment Protection Act. It is recommended that the revised instrument of sub-delegation be adopted by Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Do I have a mover?
Oh, you beat me.
Councillor Morgan, seconder. Councillor Tassari. Councillor Morgan, do you wish to speak? Councillor Tassari.
I'm happy to support Councillor Morgan's comments.
Any other councillors have any questions or wish to speak? We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 8.7, councillors, I wish to vacate the chair for this one. So I'd like to ask Councillor Tassari to take the chair, please.
Yes. Yes.
Don't stay there too long.
Get your camera ready, Michael. Yeah, Mike. Yes, thank you. It feels fantastic, John.
Don't get too cosy.
Okay, 8.7 Bass Coast Shire Council motion for Municipal Association of Victoria, State Council meeting and Australian Local Government Association to be presented by Ms Taylor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek approval from Council to submit the motions to the Municipal Association of Victoria at their meeting in February and the Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly in June. The motions proposed cover the urgent issues for other tiers of government to address, including coastal erosion and inundation, local governments being appointed as the collection agency for emergency services and volunteers fund tax being imposed in Victoria, and the recent changes associated with the State Government Development Facilitation Program.
Thank you, Ms Hale.
I'd like to
Pennington, and apologies for going on the other side of the table.
I'd like to move the...
Councillor Holstead, and can I have a seconder? Councillor Bell. Councillor Holstead.
Thank you, Councillor Tassari. It's nice
Acting Mayor.
Nice to be back on the floor to enter debate, especially on something as important as these notices of motion going to the MAB and the ALGA. I have been recently elected to Deputy Chair of One Gippsland, and I currently have a nomination in for the Board of Directors for the MAV. This is a critical piece of, or a critical notice of motion that I think the whole sector of local government is going to get involved in. We are going to be sending out our rate notices very soon, and on those rate notices, the fire services levy will be doubled. This is not something that this council has imposed upon our community. This is a state government charge, an increase in their charges that is going out on a rate notice of the Bass Coast, which will give, I believe, our community the impression that it is one of our increases. The state has the opportunity to take this back and manage it themselves. They have all the same data that is held with the State Revenue Office when they send out their land taxes. What is happening at the moment is quite a bungled system in that they give us all the information to come to council, so they still have the information and can do this themselves. I think it is a way of the state government using local government sector as a shield against their continued increases in taxes and levies and charges. And the sector feels very strongly about pushing back, and I really hope that this council will be loud about this, I also would like to talk in relation to the ALGA notice of motion in relation to coastal erosion. As we know, as a council, we are feeling it. We are on the front line. We have been active in that space. We had a meeting with the Minister, Steve Dimopoulos, recently, the Deputy Mayor and myself. We are very aware of what's happening along our coastlines, and I really believe that the other tiers of and levels of government need to start to move on these issues and give us, as a local government, the tools to be able to manage what is coming at us quick and fast. There's no framework around how to deal with these things, and you know, we don't have the resources nor the finances to build that framework. So I'm really pleased to see both of these notices of motion go before the MAV and the ALGA, and as the representative and delegate there, I will be very loud in my belief that this should go back to the state government and that both governments need to start moving in coastal erosion. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Pushing your luck, Councillor Holstead. Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to reiterate Councillor Holstead's points about the state government passing the buck down to councils continually, and I'm very happy to support this advocacy through the MAV and ALGA to make them take back responsibility for their own stuff.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Tenby.
Yes, Mr Chair. Thanks. I think that one, we shouldn't be doing the dirty work for state government because we're on a hiding to nothing if we do that. But two, with these other points, it's really important, especially in the context of climate change, that these bigger issues are tackled at state, national, if we could, global level, so that there is a consistent approach. People know where they're going, and we're provided with some guidelines so that we can implement this really, really gut-wrenching issue for those who are affected down here in a consistent, rational way. So if this moves us in that direction, then you have my full support.
Thank you, Councillor Tenby. Councillor O'Brien.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I think that this is really important that we engage here. The part of this where I think we can do some real good through the association is that the DFP program, which seems to be just another instrument that the state government has sort of dreamed up for removing decision making from local communities, and I think that of the points raised here, that it's a really important one that councils push back hard against this body. We've seen, you know, it's part of a pattern of the way, you know, the state government has operated with the strategic extractive resources legislation, removing decision making from local communities. The DFP does exactly the same thing. It makes it easier for government to run roughshod over local communities and what local communities want. And that's a really important one that we push back hard and we get all the other councils involved in pushing back hard against it.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Point of clarification, if I may. Who's responsible for the enforcement of non-collection of the fire levy if somebody pushes back?
Councillor Hale-Pennington, would you like to reply?
We'll take that on notice.
Right, because this is a classic case of cost shifting. And I bet you, even there, that we have to spend extra resources at the expense of the community on this one.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this motion? No? I'll go back to you, Councillor Holstead, to...
I'll be quick in my summing up. Thank you.
You better be, because you already owe us 20 seconds.
Thank you, councillors, for your support in this so far. I hope that the hands are going to go up where I believe they will. The financial sustainability of the local government sector is a real issue, and these continuing of cost shifting, continuing of resource draining, things that are being dumped on local government and expected for us to pick up is really putting the squeeze on us. The fire services levy is another example of that. And, you know, I suspect the answer to your question, Councillor O'Brien, is that if they don't pay it, that we will be charged with chasing them down for it. Now, so we're not just talking about a monetary thing here, we're talking about resources that are constantly relied upon, that cost our budget and have an impact on our budget and therefore impact on what we can deliver for our community. So I'm really pleased that I'm sensing our council's going to stand up against this, and I'm fairly confident that we're going to see a very strong sector-wide pushback on this issue, and I'm looking forward to it because, by gosh, we've had enough. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, Councillor Holstead. We'll put it to a vote. All in favour of the motion? That is carried.
Can I take my chair back?
We're saving your leadership. Sorry.
Did you get a photo of that, Michael?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to enter that debate, councillors. And so we move to our next item, item 9, which is statutory reports. I am going to ask that we move these as a block. The agenda items 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4 and 9.5 be considered as a block. Councillor Bauer, Councillor Tassari. Are there any... All those in favour?
Just a point, there's just a slight amendment that needs to be done to one of them, which will be tabled at the March meeting.
That'll be in the next part of this. So we're moving as a block, and then I will ask. So are everyone's in favour of moving as a block? That's carried unanimously. And now I will ask that question, Councillor Edwards, where you could come in. Are there any councillors that wish to speak to the reports?
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Madam Mayor. Just attachment 1 just has the list of attendees on the 10th of December, and that'll be retabled at the March meeting because I was in attendance where it doesn't have me noted there. So that's the only amendment.
The March meeting?
So the attachment 1 for the informal meeting of councillors on the 10th of December had in it a list of attendees and didn't have myself there. I was in attendance for that entirety of that meeting.
Yes. So that will be
amended for March.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Temby, did you have something you wanted to...
Yeah, look, it's a generic comment about a number of the approvals in 9.1, 9.2, sorry. We've got a consistent line running through about canopy tree removals and parking waivers, and I think that it's really important that we start getting a Shire-wide overlay so that there are some really strict rules on that, and we minimise that wherever it's practicable and it's all possible, but wherever it's practicable that we avoid this sort of death by 1,000 cuts on environmental, whether it's parking or trees, those environmental related issues.
Terrific. Thank you, Councillor Temby. Does any other councillors have anything to add? So I'm now going to move or request that we adopt the recommendations. Oh, Councillor Tassari.
No,
you're moving. Okay, Councillor Tassari is moving. Councillor Bauer second. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 10 is urgent business. We don't have any that I am aware of. Is there any coming out of the woodwork? No. Surprises. Beautiful. So I am now going to announce the next council meeting will be held on the 19th of March 2025 in the Bass Coast Civic Centre Council Chamber, Baillieu Street, East Wonthaggi, commencing at 1 p.m. and move that the meeting be closed to members of the public pursuant to Section 66 of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider items as they deal with private commercial information being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that two, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Tassari, seconder Councillor Edwards. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you for watching the live stream of Council's meeting, and to those in the gallery, thank you for your attendance. The meeting is now closed and it is 2:31. Thank you.